Alright, so the purpose of this video is to show you how to set up your scan and how to use Skanect to do it in a way that will help you make the most successful scan possible. So what we're going to do is we're going to open up Skanect. Students in the room, it's on my desktop. You have to do it here at the teacher station. There are a bunch of different ways you can set it up with body, object, room, half room. I always suggest body. Seems to work the best. You're going to set up a box for yourself to fit inside of, and so I'll show you this. It sets with the default 1.1 by 1 by 1 by 1 meters. So we'll hit start and take a look, and you see the problem with that's going to be that the chair isn't going to fit inside the box. So it's not going to fully scan you. It's only going to scan the stuff that's fully inside the cube. So if I go back to prepare, I go to new again. Let's try a different size. Here's 5.1 meters. Hit start, and so that's big enough where I'm going to fit inside of it. The problem with it is it's taking in a lot more than I want it to. If I take all of this information in, the system itself is really going to bog because it's going to be so resource intensive, and then it's really going to you're going to have a hard time processing, cutting all of this out, developing and creating your mesh. So you really want to get a box that just exactly fits or best fits what you're trying to accomplish. So if I go back, now I've been using, I know the 2.3 kind of works for what my setup is, where the camera is, where the chair is. So I'm going to hit start, and you see in this setup, I'm pretty well, inside the box. I've got enough room to sit on the chair and still see my head. The only other thing it looks like it's picking up in the room, looks like it's got the corner of one of the tables, which we can basically live with. We can cut that out later. So I'm going to go move here. Let me just orient this in a way where we're able to see it best. Sorry, it's always so hard to get this thing level. There it is. All right, a little bit more. Okay, good enough. So I'm going to move the screen, the microphone here. I'm going to go stand in front of the screen. So the first thing we want to talk about is what we did is we made a table, a rotating table, so that you can stand on top of it and we can rotate you. You see in the videos where they pick up the Kinect and they rotate around the room. We have had bad success trying to do that. We thought it's worked much better leaving the Kinect stationary and rotating the person. So what we did was we took an old stool. We cut the legs down, dropped it all the way down to the bottom, and I mounted a piece of plywood to it. It's got its pros and its pros and its cons. The biggest con is that it's a very unstable setup. If you're not standing in the middle of the plywood, the whole thing can tip over. So you have to be really, really careful that when you get on. When you get on and off the plywood, it's mandated that every single time somebody grab your elbow and help you on. You have to make sure that you stand in the middle of the plywood where the bolts are, because that's where it's most stable. Some people will have a wider stance with how they stand on it. So if you're taking a baseball stance, you're wide like this. What you want to do is you want to get up on the table, get your feet centered, and then slowly shimmy them out, feeling for your balance, and then when you're in good shape, you can kind of settle in there. The person who is scanning you is going to lay on their back behind the table. So I would be down here. So you can see there's my foot there. And I'm going to slowly spin the table. Slower than this, but I'm going a little bit quicker just so we can get a feel for what I'm talking about. So the goal is to slowly pin the table all the way down. When you get back face, I always have the kids go an extra 30 to 45 degrees. Come back again, go 30 to 45 degrees again, because the most important part of your scan is going to be the front. I don't know if you heard any of that because it's a microphone. I'm shouting at the ceiling, but hopefully you did. So the other thing you want to do is you really want to consider your scan and how that's going to go. For example, if I have a scan where my arms are out in the air like this, that can create two problems. Not necessarily like roadblocks, but problems. One of those scenarios is that when I'm 3D printed, it's going to start at my feet and work all the way up. So what the 3D printer will do to deal with your arms is it will start printing on the ground support material all the way up, so that when it gets to your arm, the plastic doesn't just fall to the ground. Which is fine, but it creates a whole bunch of like seams and little ridges and things that you have to cut out. And the more complex it is, so if I'm like this, it's going to make a whole webbing of the stuff in between my arms. You really want to try to have like straight lines, and if you're going to extend your arms like this, try to keep it to a minimum. If I'm going to go like this, the only extra support material I'm going to have is something holding my elbows and my forearms up all the way down. And it's right in the center of my body, so it'll crack off nice and easy. Another thing to think about is that when your arms are out in the air, one of the problems you'll run into is as you're spinning around the room, where my hand is at this height right here, as I spin around, spin around, spin around, spin around, and now I don't even realize, but my hand has dropped 6 inches. So now I have my hand where it was here, now it's here. And the problem with that is it'll make like a big, huge, like bulky arm, and you really want to try to avoid that. So what a good idea could be is finding other objects in the room, small, skinny objects, so that it'll hold your arm in place. So if I want to be like this, and I put my hand on top of this Philadelphia rod here, as I spin around, again, if I was standing on the table, I'm just standing here for demonstration purposes, but if I'm standing on the table and it's spinning me around, my hand ends up in the same place and the other way around. Some people will choose like a basketball pose, where they have to stay squatted for a long time, and I don't care how much time you spend in the weight room, you think you're going to be able to stand in that spot the whole time, and you won't be able to do it. So try to think of something that you could like support your backside, so that as you're standing here like this for 45 seconds to a minute, you're not half stood up or lower than you were. You want to try to keep yourself in the same orientation. We can take these objects after the fact and cut them out. So once you make a 3D model of you, yes, this will be here, but you can slice that right out and it won't actually show up in the model. The other thing too is, don't try to do anything too intricate with your hands. It really struggles to pick up digits, fingers, things like that. You know, because your finger's in one place all the way around. Lots of times we even have, there's like additional hands you can add in Mesh Mixer. Sometimes we'll do that just because it looks better. Another thing to think about when you're setting up your scan, you're going to want to add additional objects. Very, very rarely do you want to scan the object that's going to be with you. They just don't come out very good. So what you want to try to do is add them. So like for example, if I was going to do me in a basketball pose, rather than holding the basketball, I'm better off putting my hands like this and then in CAD drawing a basketball and importing it, or going out to the web and finding someone who's already made a basketball. Lots of kids will do a baseball pose where they're standing here holding a bat like this. The Skanect won't do a good job of picking up that bat that's up in the air. It just doesn't find it very well. So you're better off standing here in your baseball pose with your hands in this position and then adding the bat after the fact. Okay? Hopefully that makes sense. You know, it doesn't mean you can't scan any additional objects, but the more objects that you add, the less good your scan is going to end up being. So those are some tips and some pointers. Hopefully they work out for you. And we'll move on to scanning next.